Hey you guys, welcome to Alex and Andy Live. We are coming to you live from Shanghai, China, which is currently under complete lockdown due to a COVID-19 outbreak. I am Andy.
I'm Alex.
And today we're going to bring you all the updates on the latest news, as well as a couple of interviews we're going to have online with some, actually today's guests, we have two foreigners who have been in Shanghai for quite a while who are going to talk to us about group buying, and also, obviously because people are seeing problems online buying food. It's getting better, but a lot of people need to know how to participate in group buying or 团购. And then another guest is going to talk to us about volunteering. Alex, how's your day been?
Not bad. It was a really nice day. I keep talking about every day on the stream how the weather's so nice, and then each day is nicer than the last.
Exactly.
So I did get to see I got a couple of friends who have a nice open air patio, which I'm really jealous of because mine's closed. But other than that, did do a PCR test here just about an hour ago, which went really quickly, and I was able to use my Shanghai QR code, which is the one that is on the same screen as your green code. You click the button in the lower right-hand corner, the orange button, and you have a new PCR test QR code. And that worked great, and so that's good.
Nice. I haven't used it yet. Today in our compound, we had a antigen test, the one we do at home. So based on the new rules that are coming out for Shanghai potentially moving out of lockdown, I think it's good news for me. We will discuss those rules shortly. There are 3 certain levels your community may be under, and it will go towards whether or not you can leave home in the next 2 weeks. So we'll go into those details shortly. But first, let's take a quick look at Shanghai's numbers for today, which again have climbed based on yesterday, but I think we've been expecting that. Today we saw 1,015 new symptomatic cases of COVID-19 here in Shanghai, as well as 22,609 local asymptomatic cases. We've talked about the lag of COVID-19. I think we get to see that coming down. Alex, what do you reckon?
Yeah, again, we're waiting for that sort of that lag in terms of the lockdown to kind of kick in. So we'll be waiting for that to come. As you can see here in this article on your screen, the vast majority of the patients were already quarantined, as it says here. And so also a large number of the symptomatic cases were previously asymptomatic cases where people developed symptoms later. And so most of these people are already in central quarantine that are testing positive. I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, we have quite detailed stats here. Of the 1,015 local symptomatic cases, the first 301 patients tested positive, like you said, during central quarantine. And then about 200 cases after that tested positive during the screening of high-risk people. Now, that will include close contacts and such. So they were also probably in being separated already, well, we all are. And then about another 400 were previous asymptomatic infections that have since become symptomatic. And a total of 835 of these 1,015 local cases had links with them who have been put into quarantine. So yeah, quite detailed information you can find there on the Shine website. And also here's today's graph, Alex.
Yep. So again, we did see another rise in terms of the raw numbers, but the percentage increase is not huge. Obviously, we are over 23,624. My math is right there. In total, that includes both symptomatic and asymptomatic, which is an increase over yesterday where we had just broken 20,000, but the percentage increase is still relatively small. And we haven't seen any huge spikes or huge jumps. It has been a gradual increase, and hopefully that means that things are going relatively well, as well as we can say that they might be going right now. And then they might head back down in the near future. We're keeping our fingers crossed for that, because we hate to be missing this beautiful weather that we're having now that spring has come to us.
Exactly. Now, Shanghai's Vice Mayor actually addressed the city this morning on Shanghai's Daily COVID press briefing. Actually, she nearly broke down in tears today as she kind of admitted that the Shanghai government hasn't done as much as they probably could have, and that their people's expectations are falling way short of Shanghai City's response. So she has vowed to improve, which is always good news. She also thanked the general public for overcoming difficulties we're still going through, as well as a huge number of medics, CDC crew, police officers, volunteers, etc. She says for extending a helping hand during our most difficult time of need, and that we're deeply grateful. She has urged that we will be pushing forward with the dynamic COVID zero policy. She said this morning, "We firmly believe with joint effort we can overcome this pandemic. Persistence is victory. persistence can win. So it looks like, Alex, we're still trekking on with COVID zero.
Yep. Well, let's hope that we can get there sooner rather than later. Obviously, the whole city has been under lockdown for several days now. Today is April the 9th, which makes this
Right.
the 9th day that we here in Puxi, in the western region of the city, have been under lockdown. Pudong, the eastern region, has been under lockdown for a few days more than that. And in addition to that, of course, over the course of not of the entire pandemic, but particularly since the 1st of March, give or take, there have been housing complexes, apartment buildings that have been under lockdown in varying stages due to positive cases in those areas.
Right, and that has been part of Shanghai's new grid system. So as you would have noticed, in the last 2 years, China has had quite a few whole cities go under lockdown. Shanghai earlier this year tried a new method, which was grid lockdown. And it appears that hasn't gone according to plan, you could argue. Here are some numbers we see on the screen now with Shanghai's 16 districts. My district here, Jing'an, yesterday saw 39 new symptomatic cases, 641 asymptomatic cases. How's your district holding up, Alex?
Well, Putuo looks like 21 and 1074. I wouldn't say none of the districts are in an ideal situation, obviously.
Right.
Chongming, you see, is there the one that's been hit the least. Chongming and Fengxian, which are two of the most rural districts outside of the city center. Of course, we do see Pudong far outpacing, and I mean that in a negative way, obviously, the case totals of the other districts. But we have to keep in mind that Pudong is the biggest district and the most populous. I assume it is. And so it makes sense that they would have the most cases more than any other district individually.
Right. So yeah, we're still, as the Vice Mayor said today, we're still obviously in quite dangerous, critical territory. So let's keep moving. Let's keep with this lockdown, obviously, and hopefully we'll see some changes coming soon. But now let's look at another aspect that the Vice Mayor talked about this morning, which was the city adopting a 3-level control measure for phased lockdown. Now, this is quite complicated. I saw this was put in place in Pudong when Puxi went into lockdown, and I'm not sure if it's the case at the moment. But basically, we can look at this illustration here. There will be 3 levels of control measures based on when your compound last had a case. So if you follow this here, it says, is there a positive case in your compound, or has there been within the past 7 days? If yes, continue staying at home. If no, then you ask yourself, well, has there been a positive case in the past 14 days? If not, so basically in 2 weeks, if you haven't had cases in your compound, you'll be able to move around your district. Now, as I said before, I'm in Jing'an district, so that means I'd actually be able to go to work. Alex, you're in Putuo district, so you wouldn't be able to head to the office with this new...
Although, I live directly across the street from Jing'an district. Literally, if I cross the street, I'm in Jing'an district. So I don't know what that means. I guess that means I can't. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out how it works. I do believe there has been. I live in a very large compound with several thousand residents, so a lot of buildings, and so it will be harder for me if this pertains to the entire compound. As I live in such a large one, it'll be harder for me to get out of the lockdown control. Right. So it seems like it's not great.
That's really true. Yeah, that seems a bit, because my compound is actually quite small. And as I said before, we did antigen tests today and yesterday, which means we're currently in a good space. And basically what that means is, and we talked about this on the show prior, there are 2 types of tests you can undertake here in Shanghai, citywide tests. The first one is the PCR test, the nucleic acid test, which means you'll go downstairs and have your throat swabbed. If you took that test, it means there has been cases recently in your area. If you did the antigen test, which I've done for the past 2 days, it means there hasn't been cases, which means, theoretically, but you'll need to ask your Juwei for the specifics. You could start counting those days, which means I have 5 more days left until I can perhaps move downstairs. After 7 days of no cases, I can go outside my door and walk around my compound. So I think we can look at it that way. But yeah, as I said, probably best to contact your Juwei for the specific date. But I think a lot of people are going to be counting days.
I think so too. I'm not quite sure the exact situation in my compound. I did have to take a PCR test today, as I mentioned, so that probably isn't a good sign. But Obviously, even for those people who are allowed to travel around in their district, once their number of days reaches zero, it's not going to be a lot of businesses and a lot of restaurants and things like that open. So it's not going to be
No,
back.
you're right.
Don't be under the notion. Don't have the notion that once your compound is free from lockdown, that means that you're going to be able to go back to normal. It's not going to be like that. It's going to take a bit longer than that. And I'm sure we all kind of had that understanding going into it.
Right, and I think it was an interesting point you raised before, in that you live very close to Jing'an district, where our workplace is. It'll be interesting to see how strict the system is, because I noticed in that plan today, as we see here, you can move around your district, which obviously, it'll be interesting to see if that means, if there's any leeway there. If you're a street over from Jing'an, can you enter, and how it will be policed? That is something we'll be looking forward to in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, we can't really say right now. I know obviously we're getting this news today and we're breaking it for you guys, but if you haven't seen it yet. But I don't really know exactly what that's going to mean. Am I going to be able to cross the road and go to Jing'an district? Am I going to be able to go anywhere in Putuo district, or is this just in my Jiedao or whatever? So we're going to have to find out the way that that's enforced. And the more we learn, as soon as we learn it, we'll let you guys know, both here on our stream and on our website, shine.cn, and Shine's WeChat official account.
Right, Shine's WeChat, which I'm having a look now to see if there's any comments. Ben Zhang says, good evening, you guys. Xinhua says, hi, you guys. Somebody said, Andy. Yes, hello. Not sure what they mean there. Anyway, we will move to the next story, which is another one you're going to have to explain, Alex, because it is another thing to do with QR codes and scrolling through apps, which I really, it drives me insane. So what is happening?
Okay, so I did mention this yesterday, and what I said yesterday was right. So great. Currently, as of today, April the 9th, the Jiankangyun, or the Health Cloud app, is no longer the place to go to get your QR code for scanning, for doing your PCR tests. Of course, when you do your PCR tests, you have to go and get a QR code that will scan the QR code as well, right? So I did want to say that they've moved that over to what's called Ban, which is you can find in Alipay. It is with the same page that you get your green QR code. Hopefully it's green. And then down in the corner, there is a button that you press to get that QR code up. Now, the question was, what about my kids? What if my kids don't have Alipay, right? Or maybe they don't have a smartphone, things like this, right? And so there are 2 ways to handle it, right? So one way you can do it is if you happen to have a spare phone number. Why would this happen? Not really sure. I don't imagine that a ton of you do. But if you do have an extra phone number, maybe you have 2 phones for whatever purpose. Maybe your kid is old enough to have a phone by your estimation. It's different for everybody, of course. That's up to you. But if your kid has a phone but doesn't have Alipay, then that would work, right? Okay. And so there's a way that you can create a 30-day QR code using a number that is not already registered with Alipay, right? And you can do that for your kids. You can do it with your phone. You can do it with their phone, whatever, if they have one. But the other way to do it is just to bring your kid's passport down to do the QR code, the PCR test with you. And if you do that, they'll be able, the workers down there, the CDC people or the volunteers or whoever is administering the test will be able to input your children's passport numbers and information into their device, and then that's fine. And it'll be recorded properly that way. So there's 2 ways to do it. I'm sure many of you with children already know this.
Right, and I'm sure people have been trying to figure it out today. So basically, to sum up what Alex said, is there is a whole rigmarole you can go through if you really want to register your child and get their own QR code. But also, if you want to keep it simple for yourself, not so much for the volunteers, but that's what they're there for, you can, when you go downstairs for your PCR test, take their passports with you, and somebody will help you register manually. But we do have a video that Alex has done today, which will talk you through the first option, which is all the rigmarole. So I'll put that on now.
Now, this one is for if you have an extra phone number to use that's not registered with Alipay, be it you have 2 phone numbers, or maybe your kid's got a phone number but not Alipay. So that's what it is.
Right, let's take a look. Oh, not this one. This one.
Choose Me first. Then click on the upper right corner. Click the gear icon. Select Log Out. Then click the Register button at the bottom of the page. enter your extra cell phone number here. Note that you need to use a mobile phone number that is not registered with Alipay. Click Register. Then, enter your verification code. The verification code will be sent to you by text message. Then, set a password for the new account. Then go to the home page. Select this option. This means real name verification of account. Click Verify Now. Click Region in the upper right corner. Fill in the child's personal information below. If this message is displayed, please select Cancel. And then you'll see a green check mark. Then it's the same process for opening the PCR test QR code.
Okay.
So that's it.
It's deceptively simple, Alex.
Yeah, it is. But then again, like I said, when I first saw this information, I said, well, how many people just have a spare phone number lying around, right? And you can't quite go to your China Mobile or Telecom or Unicom or whatever store to get a new one right now. And so if you're in that situation, I'm sure there are many people who are, then easy, you can make a QR code. But barring that, the easiest way, and this is the way that almost all of the friends of mine, the people that I know who have children, are doing it, it's just bringing their identification document, passport, down with them. Or, you can just give the passport number to the workers down there, and they will put it into their device, and then they're registered and good to go. And so they'll have accurate results that are linked to their ID.
Right. I think if I had kids, I'll go for the last one. Last thing I want to do is be running around trying to register people on apps and everything. So yeah, don't forget that if you do have kids and you don't want to go through the rigmarole or don't have another number, like Alex just showed, do take your passport downstairs or just the passport number and register manually. Alex, we'll jump across really quickly to shine.cn. We always like to try and tell people to head there. It's an English language website of Shanghai Daily. And there you can find out lots of up-to-date information on not just COVID, but also, Alex, did you see this story, which I found quite interesting? Will Smith banned from the Oscar ceremonies for 10 years.
That's a weird one. When I saw the video of that, I wasn't watching it live or anything, but a friend of mine was like, "Oh, you watch the Oscars?" I'm like, no. And you need to watch it. Okay, this is the last thing I was expecting. It's weird because I'm a huge fan of both of these guys, right? I grew up with Will Smith, as many people in my generation did, but Chris Rock too. I like Chris Rock a whole lot. And so, it's just really bizarre. I think Will just lost his mind. He seems to be contrite about it. He said he respected their decision and he's apologized publicly and everything. He just lost his mind there for a minute, and he received a whole heck of a lot of flack for it. And I think deservedly so, even if I do like the guy. Definitely not the way to handle, especially the Oscars is about making jokes about people. It's not the first time that someone has made a joke about somebody at the Oscars. It happens literally every single time. So, that's my opinion on it.
Right, yeah, I was the same situation as you because the Oscars is not something I get into the habit of watching or even following. So when somebody sent me the link, they were like, "You've got to watch this." I was like, "I'm not watching the Oscars." They were like, "No, watch this." So yeah. People were quite shocked. In fact, in the audience, even a lot of people actually thought it was part of the act, but no, it wasn't.
Right.
Anyway, moving along, we're going off track here. Sorry. We'll get back to the story.
We don't have to talk about COVID all the time. We can talk about other stuff too. And also, like we said on shine.cn on our website, Shanghai Daily's website, there are also other stories. It's not all COVID all the time. I know that it is an issue for everyone here in Shanghai right now, obviously.
Right.
But, it's talking about it constantly does get a little bit tiresome. But we're here to give you information about it, just to help you get through this lockdown and get everything done you need. So we do talk about it a lot because it's important. But we can also talk about other things too. And so you should also focus on some other things other than just COVID all day, every day. So.
Exactly. And here up the top, actually on shine.cn, if you click this button here, you can see all the different sections. So obviously, for example, you could go news, world news, and then you're going to see, there's Will Smith and, everything else that's going on. So do head along to shine.cn. And you'll be able to be caught up to date with a lot of not just what's happening in Shanghai with COVID, like Alex said, but also other stuff from around the world. We hope you check it out. But for now, Alex, we're going to have a little bit of a break and check out a performance from one of our performers at our online concert the other evening. Do you know who I'm about to play?
Is it the pianist Song Sehung?
Yes, the
Okay, good.
renowned pianist Song Si-hung, who came along and gave us a really amazing performance as we went live. I think it was on Sunday evening. I don't know. Anyway, it was a great performance. So here we have it again for you. And when we get back, we have two guests who are going to talk to us about volunteering in Shanghai during COVID, and somebody who is going to talk with us about group buying for those of you who are having no luck there.
Right,
So
that's a
we
big
will see you back
tune for that.
very
That's
shortly.
important.
Yeah.
先给大家演奏的是我的疫情音乐日记的这个第5首散步。
All right, we are leaving.
Oh, magnificent performance there. Alex, what did you think?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, obviously, I was here for when he gave the performance the other day. But yeah, we know that he's actually a very well-renowned pianist. A lot of people, probably much of our audience, is probably already familiar with him and have heard of him before. But we were really honored to have him on as the lead act of the opening act of our concert, and he did a great job. And he's just a really talented guy. And as we found out, we already knew, but as we had that confirmed for us, and we know that there are a lot of talented people musically and in many other ways all around the city right now.
Exactly. I thought it was a great concert, and depending on how long the lockdown goes on for, we could look at doing it again. But we will be bringing you guys some highlights every evening that we're here. We will be coming to you live every evening while Shanghai is still under a lockdown. So that's something to look forward to. I just want to remind you guys really quickly of yesterday's numbers. So Friday, 8th of April, Shanghai saw 1,105 new symptomatic cases in the city and 22,609 new asymptomatic cases. So as we said before, the numbers are still rising, but I feel like day on day, the rising number is getting smaller and smaller. Are you getting that sense, Alex?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're a bit disheartened to see it continue to climb, but it's not completely unexpected as more and more people are tested, as the tests are very, very frequent right now for everyone. It does stand to reason that the numbers will increase. The good thing, the positive signs are first that the numbers aren't climbing at a great rate. Like they're not spiking, right? They're just sort of steadily climbing, and then we hope they'll peak and start to come back down once the lockdown enters. Well, it's already in its second week for those of us in Puxi. Once it enters its third week, and then hopefully we'll start to be able to see it come to a close.
Right, we're holding out for that day. Now, next up, we're going to talk to a guest, David Fishman. But first up, we're going to check out a video he just sent in where he went downstairs to grab some group purchases that came to his to his area. So let's take a look at that video, and then when we come back, we'll have a chat with David.
Okay.
We are leaving our apartment now. This is my first time outside in 2 days, actually, because we have just received a bulk order of chicken legs that we bought earlier today. They can't bring them into the community, so they're stacked outside. We're just going to pick them up and bring them in. Oh, they brought them on a cart. I think we had 6 boxes of chicken legs. Yeah, here we go. So our chicken legs are coming in. We've already grabbed a couple boxes, so it's not too bad. I'm going to pick these up and bring these back inside to get distributed. So we have actually both chicken legs, 3 boxes of chicken legs, and 4 boxes of eggs. And this is just a quick one that we did tonight as an appetizer for the big one tomorrow, I guess. So our eggs are all laid out, and we're going to start calling each floor to come down and pick up their eggs.
This is a special process.
Yes, a special process to minimize contact and prevent a big line in our lobby.
Awesome. So that is a video from David Fishman. Now he received those goods because of a process called Tuan Go. Now we're going to bring him in and ask him what that is all about. It's all to do with group buying, and see if he can explain. David, can you hear us?
Can you hear us, David?
Okay, maybe not.
All right. Okay, we're going to have to get that sorted out because we do want to talk with him. I know he's got a lot of good information about this. He's been able to lead the group buys. Tuan Go, the word means group buying. So what it is people in your community will get together and make bulk purchases of different goods. Usually it's essential food goods, meat, eggs, vegetables, things like that. You probably won't be able to get many of our favorite luxury items in this fashion. I don't know if they're going to have a lot of like chocolate bars and stuff like that, but you're going to be able to get essential goods that way. And so the way it works is someone organizes it, and which would be like a tuanzhang, right? And we'll get all those things together. And then everyone in your neighborhood or in your compound who wants to contribute or who wants to get in on the group buy can do that. And then, and so it's one way. In fact, right now, it is actually the best way to make sure that you get food, essentials, fruits, vegetables, and things like that delivered. We know that it's really hard to get food on the supermarkets right now, at the online markets. And so doing this Tuan Go thing that we're going to hear more about here in a minute, hopefully, will be a good thing for everyone to know how to do. We're going to kind of introduce that process for you and see how it goes.
Right, here is David's Twitter page, actually, where he's been sharing his experience with Tuan Go. He has been following the trends, following people's struggles, and trying to help people out as much as possible. I think we have David back now. I'll see if he can hear us this time. David, can you hear us?
Yeah, hey guys, good evening.
Oh, you're there. How's it going? You just went downstairs to pick up your first order. How was that?
Second one actually, we had a
Second one.
bread order in the afternoon, and then this evening was originally it was just chicken legs, but then we had an opportunity to add some eggs in at the last second, so it was an order of chicken legs and eggs.
Oh, nice. Now, some of our viewers don't really understand what Tuangou or group buying is. Can you explain to us what it is and why it's so important right now?
Well, what it means at this exact moment for Shanghai pandemic support 2022 is probably different from Tuangou. What Tuangou would mean if you asked somebody who follows the Chinese consumer tech platform space. For the last couple of years, Tuangou, meaning group buying, has been set up through all these internet platforms, Pinduoduo or Meicai. There's a bunch of them. And the idea where your community all groups together and you all pool this volume of the order in order to make the shipping and logistics easier for the vendor and to save some money as the consumer. And at the very beginning, quite a few years ago, used to use Tuangou to get exotic foods from far away, walnuts from Xinjiang or oranges from Hainan or something like that. And then during Wuhan, I know they started using using Tuangou for vegetables to deliver them. And right when Kuai Tuan Tuan launched, that's the Pinduoduo's platform. 50% of their vendors were in Wuhan. And then how we're using it right now, it's a different kind of group buying. It's really, for the first couple of days, it was just oh my God, who has food? Anybody? Warehouses in the suburbs, wherever you are with food, we'll buy it, just if you can send a truck to us. And so that's a different kind of model entirely, where you just have a one-to-one point with the vendor, and you're how many orders do you need for you to think it's worthwhile to send it to us? That's how it's been for the last couple of days. I think today a lot of the tech platforms kind of jumped back in, and now they're doing more of a traditional Tuangou model.
Yeah, it's good to see that. Obviously, it's been in existence. It's not something that I've used with any sort of frequency up until this point, but obviously right now it's really reemerged in a very real way. So I just wanted to ask you, because obviously your experience with it, you've been doing it, especially recently. Can you kind of walk us through the process? How does it work? What exactly do people, because we've got a lot of viewers who are really not really sure about how to get food. Maybe their Chinese isn't awesome. Maybe they don't know how to Changcai or whatever. And right now that's even hard to do. And so can you kind of just give us the basic rundown about how to do it?
Yeah, sure. So, most apartment groups right now, they'll have a WeChat group. Probably when everything started kicking off, at least for us, when everything started kicking off, the neighborhood committee, they set up a WeChat group, and volunteers pulled everybody into it, and they were using that for communication. Say all right, we're going to do testing tomorrow, please come out at this time. And then people started posting hey, how do we buy this? How do we get that? I need eggs, I need milk. And they said, well, let's keep this group clean and let's move to another group for all the group buying. So now we have two groups. We have the official one with Zhu Wei, and we have the group buying group. So I've heard some people say oh, I don't know, we just don't have group buying. You probably do. You might not be in the group. There might be multiple groups going on right now. That's one thing that could be happening. And then in the group buying group, that's where everybody's saying, hey, anybody interested in eggs? Anybody interested in meat? I need chicken. I'm running out of drinking water. And then if enough people say, oh yeah, me too, I could use that, then somebody's okay, let's find a bulk purchase. And at the beginning, it was searching on WeChat or searching online, or friends were sending screenshots around. It was just oh yeah, this guy has bottles of drinking water, 5-liter bottles, but he needs 30 in order to deliver them. So then you post that in the group, and you say hey, can we get to 30 orders? And they'll use usually a function inside of WeChat called 群接龙, which is I don't know, group.
They call it group.
Literally,
notes,
it's
right?
Group receive dragon. I don't know. 群接龙is just the sign up function, right?
Yeah.
So you add your name to it and you sign it, and it automatically updates as each person who wants to sign up adds their name. And then you can get a quick gauge of how many people are interested in that bulk purchase. If you get 50 names on the interest list, then you should go buy it, right? You can go to the vendor and say, hey, 4,000 renminbi, 5,000 renminbi, whatever it is you need, I'll buy it right now. I'm collecting money. And then you can go back to all the people on the list and just collect the money and make the bulk purchase. And then it arrives in a day or two or whatever.
Oh, that's awesome. So it sounds like a lot of work. And normally people are, if people don't know how to do this all themselves, they're relying on their Jiwei Hui, like you said before. So you said on Twitter earlier that, a well-run or a well-organized Jiwei Hui makes all the difference. What kind of experiences have you had over where you are?
Yeah, well, I mean, ideally they would take the lead in procuring food, you would think, for the group. But for various reasons, like it just hasn't really come through that well. Of course, we got the emergency rations on the the second day, but besides that, they haven't really had that much. And after that, they said like, oh, we're going to put out some milk, but it took a long time. They said we're going to do some vegetables, but it took a long time. They provided links to like the guaranteed service providers that did have some Tuango, but they were kind of expensive compared to the ones that we were finding by ourselves. So in the end, I think the sentiment right now in our WeChat group is like, we've done more to save ourselves in terms of buying food than the Jiwei Hui has done for us in the last couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you've been doing a lot. I think I do want to stress for everyone, obviously David is a bit of an expert in this regard, right? So you don't necessarily have to be, well, what I'm saying is this: you don't necessarily have to take the lead as you've done, which is really awesome. I'm sure all the people in your Tuan are extremely grateful for that. But just for our listeners who might just want to get involved in it, you don't necessarily have to run the entire thing. Obviously, you can just be a part of it. But I did want to ask you one more question. So you were talking about how around the 4th or 5th of April, which would have been the 4th or 5th day of our lockdown in Puxi here, and obviously longer than that over in Pudong, the people were starting to get really anxious and antsy about their food supplies. Things were kind of going out faster than they were coming in, or so to speak. But then you said by the 8th, things were starting to get back on track. So, what are your predictions for the coming days of food delivery in Shanghai, if you have any, and how's it going to change in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I did a sentiment check on the people in our group, right, the people in our community, and obviously everywhere in Shanghai is different right now. I know some places are still bad or getting worse. We've obviously, we were early to get things going. And so I think we've also been kind of early to enjoy the fruits of that. I can't say that we were any more well supplied than any other community. I can't say that we're in a wealthier part of town than another part of Huangpu or something like that. All of downtown has wealthy parts of Shanghai. It just seems we were kind of lucky that we got started on this very early. And so by the 4th or 5th, people were already asking about it. By the 7th, we were already getting our first group orders in. And so now the 9th, we're receiving everything. And 9th, 10th, our sentiment, vibe check, right? People are saying, well, it seems like food is supply. Food secure. Food supply is secure. And we're going to move from the oh my God, we're in lockdown and there's COVID cases and we don't have enough food to okay, we're in lockdown and there's COVID cases and this is kind of boring. But we have food.
Right. Yes. Two totally different vibes altogether. Definitely.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, David, thank you so much. You put a lot of effort in, and we will definitely, I'll just bring up your Twitter now, because I think if anyone wants to keep up with what you're doing and the information you have to share, which is really valuable, they should follow your Twitter. He has a lot of threads there on which platforms are working well, which platforms are not yet in the game. So I do really recommend you go and follow him over there. His WeChat is, let me zoom in,
Twitter.
Pretentious What? David, thank you so much. We'll catch up with you again later on.
Sure. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks. Good luck. Thank you. Wow, what do you reckon, Alex? Did you learn anything?
Yeah, it's really helpful. We have been just getting involved in doing this. Obviously, in my compound, the rules are different from currently, as it currently stands, a bit different from what they are in other compounds, in which we're restricted to just in our own building can we do this. And so we're having a bit of a hard time doing it because we've only got something like 72 residences in our building. And so, I mean, maybe that's enough for some things, but for other things, it's not. Anyway, but I know that for a lot of compounds, this Tuango or group buy option exists, and it's really important right now for a lot of people who are having trouble getting food. So if you're in that boat, if you're in a pickle, so to speak, maybe bad pun there, but if you're in a tough spot, in terms of getting food, make sure to try and find out a little bit more about your Juehui, or you can get into that group if you can. We know that WeChat has a translate function. I know you don't want to go through translating every single message, but try and figure it out and get involved in a group buy, and so you can get the essentials that you need so that you're not hungry.
Exactly, and I actually got into our compounds group the other day. It's really helpful. Like you said before, Alex, it was really important to point out that David, obviously, he is really grabbing this situation by the horns and helping out a lot of people. But you don't necessarily need to take the lead yourself. You just need to get into those WeChat groups in your area, and then you'll be in on the group buying. And the cool thing is, there's a lot of people like myself. I'm home alone. I don't need to buy a whole vegetable pack, a whole box, it'll go to waste. So in the groups, people are also chatting about splitting packs, sharing food, trading food. So that is really something you need to get into at the moment under the current situation here in Shanghai. Like Alex said before, it is tough if you can't speak Chinese or understand Chinese, but WeChat does have a lot of great translation functions. So I'm sure you can work it out. And yeah, we wish you luck.
Yeah, absolutely. There may be somebody in your building who speaks English to help you out or whatever it is. I mean, I feel like a lot of Shanghai residents, especially our international community, are pretty good at figuring out what to do in different situations. I know this is a tough one for a lot of people, but definitely look into this Tuango or group buying situation, because right now it is, in my estimation, the most reliable way to make sure that your food supply stays secure.
Exactly. And we're hoping that the situation, will be heading towards better territory shortly. We did see yesterday that in the Shanghai government press meeting, that more effort was going to be put into the logistics of food delivery here in Shanghai. It seems to me, I forgot to mention before when we had David on the line, that things are looking up from today. I noticed that JD.com, their app, was offering individual orders today, and I actually put in an order myself that wasn't at all part of the group buy situation. So there are other options coming, and I think in the coming days we will see the food logistics situation opening up a little bit. Fingers crossed. Have you managed to do any orders today, Alex?
I've got a group buy that I'm putting in, that I put in today. Yeah, we'll see when it comes in. It's not here yet. I did make some orders also on Jingdong today. Now, I'm not really sure about the logistics of that. I know that a lot of the orders have been stopped or haven't been able to be delivered recently, but it seems like a lot of people are optimistic about that. And so I'm hopeful that those Jingdong orders that I made can also come in. It does seem like that the buying things, the logistics of getting food and getting other essentials to your house is getting a bit easier as the city and also companies and regulators and everyone sort of adjust their practices to fit the situation. Right? We know that there were a couple of days in there where it got pretty tense in terms of people were really sort of starting to worry about where the next day's meals were going to come from. But fortunately, it seems like things are getting a little bit better, even if it's not necessarily great in every district. I don't want viewers who are having trouble to think that I'm saying it's all hunky-dory and awesome. I mean, I know there are a lot of people who are still having trouble, but it fortunately does appear that it's getting a bit better, and hopefully that continues.
Yeah, we'll be watching. I, for one, will definitely be watching the Shanghai government media conference. That's every morning at 10 a.m. or 10:30 a.m., around about then, on Shanghai Fabu. Now, if you follow them on WeChat, you will get a prompt when the meeting comes up. So it is, very handy. Obviously, it's all in Chinese, but if you can't understand that, don't worry. Shanghai Daily, shine.cn will have all the latest news for you within probably an hour on shine.cn. And then, of course, every evening, Alex and I will be back to give you the biggest updates as we have today. Now, right now, we're looking at some footage that was taken of PCR tests, ongoing citywide PCR tests. Sorry, not necessarily PCR tests. Ongoing citywide COVID testing that is currently, I can't even remember what number we're up to yet. Alex, have you been keeping a tab?
In terms of what? I'm sorry? Number
of
what? Oh, the number of tests I've done? I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'm in the double digits yet, but I certainly have some friends who are. Some of my close friends are out in Pudong, and they've been locked down for the better part of 20 days or longer. Maybe potential cases in their neighborhoods before the before the original Pudong district-wide lockdown that began on March 28th. But I know that I've got some friends that are well up into the double digits in terms of COVID tests. So, all negative for most of them.
Right, it's something we're going to need to get used to. I think I've become a pro at doing the antigen tests. Yeah, I think it's really good that those antigen tests became acceptable here for use in China. I think that was about a week or two before Shanghai went into lockdown. So, yeah, good timing there. Now we're going to bring in our.
I want to say one thing, Andy. Sorry. One more thing. It's really important, though, and I'm sure this is common sense, of course, but make sure that if you do have to go downstairs to do your PCR test. I know that not every neighborhood requires that. Obviously, if you're doing the antigen self-test, you don't have to worry about this, but make sure to keep safe social distance between you and everyone else. Make sure to wear your masks. Try to wear a good, solid mask if possible, because you really wouldn't want to catch COVID while standing in line for a COVID test. That would really be sort of a buzzkill. So make sure that doesn't happen.
That would be putting it lightly. Now, I'll just quickly read a comment on our the Shanghai Daily WeChat channel. Somebody, Zhang, said, 我们小区已经, our community has already group bought a lot of different things, including coffee beans and beef. So it sounds like now people are ordering things that are really, when based on the last few days, considered luxury, especially coffee beans. So it's to see. Now we're going to bring in
coffee beans are a luxury item now, but hey, whatever. It's tough times, desperate times, desperate measures, or whatever.
Tough times, but it's getting better. We're going to bring our next guest, which is Australian Ian Richardson. He is an engineering consultant. Ian, can you hear me?
Hey, good, thanks, guys. Nice to meet you both.
Yeah, nice to see you. Now, can you tell us a bit about yourself? And I already said what you do, but how long you've been in Shanghai and how you've been doing during the lockdown?
Yeah, look, I came to China in 2006 on a 3-month contract with the Ford Motor Company. Like many foreigners, fell in love, got married, and stayed. So yeah, last year I had an opportunity to go to Mexico and work for a little while, which I did. While I was there, my visa, I had problems with my visa, missed my flight, couldn't get back. Had to go to Australia for 3 months. Which was the beginning of my quarantine isolation process. Over the last 6 months, today's day 80 for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've up until this lockdown, I thought I was going to hold the record, but it looks like there might be plenty of others catching up soon. So
80. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I've done quarantine in Sydney, Adelaide, Shanghai, Chongqing, and now back again in Shanghai for this one.
You're a pro.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I know what it's like. I know what people are going through, and that's why I'm trying to get involved and help my community as much as I can.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. So you signed up to become a volunteer. So what was your thought process behind that? And then sort of what do you hope to be able to do in terms of helping the community out as a volunteer?
Yeah, look, when all this started to happen, my wife and I heard that there was shortages of volunteers. And I said to my wife, look, I'm more than happy to help. Not only for my own sanity, for being able to do something, but for being able to actively help our community. Simple things like helping carry out the trash. If people had dogs that needed to go out and be walked, distributing food, picking up groceries from the gate, just anything at all that I could do to assist the community. Unfortunately, though, my wife and I both don't speak Shanghainese, and our leader, a lovely old lady, didn't quite understand what I was trying to do. So until now, I hadn't been able to get involved. However, a friend of mine today that lives in the same building, Judy, she had a chat with our floor leader, and yeah, she fully understands now, and she's very happy that I'm willing to contribute, and hopefully going forward there'll be something I can do to assist.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, Ian. And I heard actually that your wife's group buying skills online have been put to good use there. Do you have any tips on that?
Look, very much similar to what David was saying. The process that she and all of the people in our building and our community have been following is just to join those groups. The more people you can get into those groups, the better your buying power is. We're a very small community. There's only four buildings, so we don't have great numbers. We have found it a little bit difficult being able to place our orders. Having said that, we had a win today. We had a milk delivery, which we placed the order probably 3 or 4 days ago. We were all starting to give up on it, but it arrived today. So hopefully going forward now we can try and get more people into the group. Like Dave was saying, the more you get in, the better your buying power. And as a group, we started placing more orders today. So fingers crossed, the food will come through. But even more so, hopefully we'll get through this soon and we'll be able to do our own shopping again.
For sure.
Absolutely. I did want to ask you one more question. Just hearing you tell us about how you're a real quarantine veteran at this point, particularly in recent days, right? So I kind of wanted to ask you, what has been the number one activity, or what are some activities that you've been able to do in quarantine to help keep you sane and keep everything in order, both physically or mentally?
It's good questions. It's been the same process I've followed in whichever city I found myself in quarantine. My apartment here in Shanghai now, I've run out of surfaces to clean. To the point that I regrouted my shower. Today I cleaned all of the filters on our air conditioners. Just trying to keep active is the number one thing. Not just sitting down, watching TV. I make a to-do list, and then I try to just work my way through that to-do list as much as possible. Little things like doing the laundry, changing the bedding, doing the dusting, mopping the floors. Just anything that can keep you active and not thinking about what's happening out of the window all the time.
Absolutely. That's really good about home cleaning, home improvement, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And
go ahead.
We're limited in the home improvements we can do, but I think the owner of my apartment would be so happy at the moment if he was to walk through the door now.
Absolutely.
I think actually, Ian, it's going to be your wife who's a very happy woman. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and good luck for the rest of the quarantine. And if you do have any more tips, don't hesitate to quarantine tips. Don't hesitate to fire those through.
Great. Thanks for having me on, guys. All the best.
Thanks, Ian. Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, I think, definitely his wife is going to be a happy woman. She could probably be the one who's sitting down watching TV all day. I'm not sure.
No, as I was saying before, we all have our different sort of activities that keep us going. Obviously it's really good if you can do something that not only sort of keeps your mind off of the situation at hand, at least in terms of the negative aspects of it, but also something that can help, something that maybe you've been procrastinating on, something that maybe you didn't have time for when you were busier with work than you might be now, or when you were out and about doing social things that we're now not quite able to do anymore. Things like Ian mentioned, I think are really good. Just stuff around the house, spring cleaning. Now that spring is here, it's a perfect time to get that done. Toss out the old things that you don't want to use anymore. Just stuff that you haven't gotten around to, that you've been procrastinating on. What better time than now to go ahead and get those done, right?
Exactly. And like you said yesterday, it would be also a good time to sort out some old clothing, which I need to do, and see what you can donate. So I'll be looking at doing that tomorrow, I guess. But I think a lot of the problem actually for a few people under quarantine is the uncertainty. They're not sure how long this is going to go on for. So a lot of people may have problems concentrating on getting any of those projects done. So I just wanted to quickly talk again about our main news story today, which was Shanghai City's, I guess you could call it a roadmap to opening up. based on how many cases you've had in your community. And this is some way maybe that you could get some sort of certainty back to your life and get some sort of order back into your life. Alex, what do you think of these 3 steps? I'll just quickly name them all. The 3 levels. The first one is called locked down. The second one is called controlled, and the last one is called precautionary. Now, the precautionary area is the one we're all aiming for, and that means that you haven't had any cases in your community for 14 days, and will mean that you can leave your home and travel around your district. What are you feeling about that, Alex?
Well, obviously, I'm not quite sure where my particular my particular neighborhood or compound sits on this chart, on this flow chart right now, but we'll find out soon enough, I suppose. But obviously, we all want to get down into that lavender precautionary area, because that is the first step in moving back into a normal area to where we can actually do all the things that I'll put it like this, so that we can get back to enjoying Shanghai the way that we have enjoyed it since we moved here, however long any of us have been here, or obviously locals have been here their whole lives. So this is just the next step. We'll take it step by step. If we skip any steps, we might end up shooting ourselves in the foot here. So I think the important thing is we take it step by step, get down into that precautionary area, and then we can get back to enjoying the Shanghai that we love so much.
Yeah, I totally agree, Alex. And speaking of the Shanghai that we love so much, here is our live view, which we haven't shared that much today. This is a view taken in Puxi, aiming towards the Bund, the famous Bund down there. So a peaceful night here in Shanghai at nearly 8:30 p.m. on the 9th of April. Day number 9 of lockdown, is it?
Yep, day number 9, and then for Pudong officially 20, it would be day number 13. And of course, we have a lot of friends out in and around different parts of the city who have been locked down for longer than that. But yes,
right. Yes. So as our Vice Mayor said this morning, we need to keep fighting, which we will do. And Alex and I will keep bringing you these live updates every day. That's going to be it for today, but we will be back again tomorrow, same time. I think we're aiming now for 7:30 p.m. Beijing time. So if you do have any questions before then, do fire them across to us, and we will see you then.
All right. Bye-bye.